As 2023 comes to a close, a year in hip hop that many have called one of the worst in its 50-year history is finally over, but what this means for the future of the genre is going to shock you. Now, while we are moving into a year for hip hop that is already gearing up to be way more exciting than 2023, with record labels cutting funding from signing and developing rappers in search of other types of artists, along with the significant decline in public interest around rap as a whole, the question we need to ask ourselves is, can hip hop bounce back and enter another era of dominance in 2024? Now, before we can answer this question and find out the reality rap will inevitably face, we need to understand what has put hip hop into the hole that has led so many people to question if it's dying in the first place. Now, when we look at everything wrong in the current landscape of rap music, I think all of the problems the genre is facing are due to the separation of the forces that historically have kept hip hop culture alive, well, and growing for decades to this point. So when it comes to what united and turned rap into the era-defining art form it became, you can pin it all to the success of a few factors that have worked alongside one another to put the genre in a league of its own. First off, you got the collective relevance built around rap artists, albums, and songs, which this is the part of hip-hop culture that keeps things buzzing and growing and always in the public discourse, but more importantly than this, what keeps the heart of hip-hop beating all stems back to the quality and more tangibly the authenticity of the music itself. Now, historically in hip-hop, for the most part, these factors have gone together hand in hand, and it has allowed for the genre to not just grow, but to thrive. Whether we look at Biggie, Kanye, Kendrick Lamar, or countless others, it has been hip-hop's rare blend of authenticity and stardom that has allowed for it to resonate with millions of people around the world in ways that most other genres merely can't. So when we look at what went wrong in hip-hop in 2023, the main problem all stems from the division between these two facets of the culture that have been historically intertwined. On one hand, it seems like every artist that was making headlines or racking up streaming numbers was doing it because of personal drama or artificially made hits that were forced down people's throats, while the music that was actually good and had the potential to shift the culture was not getting the love it deserved whatsoever. Outside of a select few names, this separation in hip-hop made the music everybody was hearing feel superficial and inauthentic. With the overabundance and oversaturation of music we currently have in the digital age, it's becoming increasingly difficult to go beyond the surface and find quality records, and this has led a lot of people to turn their back on hip-hop in favor of other genres whose most talked about artists are straight up offering music that's more compelling. So understanding the problem that is responsible for the decline in interest in hip-hop all across the board. To answer the question regarding if rap can reclaim its former glory this year, the answer is complicated. Now, 2024 is about to be a year that doesn't just change hip-hop as we know it, but it will end up determining rap's fate for the next generation, and the way how is going to shock you. Now, hip-hop's next chapter is something that I'm calling the age of the artist, and let me explain why. As 2023 proved, the era of rappers hopping onto popular trends and carving out a career from riding out the wave of what is hot is over, and while most labels and artists have not realized this, and this has made it look like rap is dying, the genre is just evolving, and in the process of change, this current decline is a result of shedding off all the music and rappers that won't succeed in hip-hop's upcoming chapter. Now, I know some of you are probably saying that this is wishful thinking, but when we look beyond the current problems in hip-hop and all of the fear people have buzzed up saying that hip-hop is dead and worrying about the future of the genre, all of the pieces have been laid out right in front of us, and we have all just been way too distracted to see it. Rap is on the brink of pushing into a new era, and we have been so bogged down trying to recreate the nostalgia of years like 2016 or 2018 that it's been too hard to just look into the future. So when we look at this next generation of hip-hop and see what the future of the genre has in store, something's going on that has never happened before. Now, when we look at different eras and generations of music, especially in hip-hop, you have to understand that each new style and movement is a response to the previous trends, and while most eras in hip-hop have built on their predecessors, what's going on right now is actually destroying the foundation of the previous era, both for better and for worse. The 2010s were the decade where hip-hop became pop music, and while it was awesome to see the genre rack up so many number ones and awards at this point in the 2020s, all of the artists on the brink of this change in rap music are no longer interested in dominating airwaves and racking up streaming numbers, but instead are trying to make music that is purely for themselves. From changing sounds, styles, and genres to penning some of the most personal and boundary-pushing stories ever told in rap, what most of the leaders in hip-hop have been doing recently is pushing the genre forward, guided by one and one thing only: their most authentic and uncompromised creative vision. Now, I think this change in hip-hop and transition into a new era can best be seen with two of the biggest rappers and albums in recent memory, with Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and Travis Scott's Utopia, and specifically, these albums in contrast to their last albums Damn and Astroworld. Now, with these records, despite Damn and Astroworld being more successful albums commercially with songs that dominated every facet of pop culture, while Mr. Morale and Utopia did not have as large of a commercial impact as these records, they've ended up being more successful ventures in other ways for Kendrick and Travis, which has been specifically reflected within Kendrick's Big Steppers tour and Travis's ongoing Circus Maximus tour. From Kendrick setting the record for the highest grossing hip-hop tour of all time to Travis breaking records with merchandise sales. While these albums are not as universally loved as their predecessors, the newfound levels of authenticity through Kendrick's introspective writing or Travis's take on an experimental album have built stronger bonds with fans and in turn have created stronger communities and cultures. And as we move forward into this new era of hip-hop, this very concept of fostering a community is becoming the very factor that is making or breaking artists' careers. With rappers who have plateaued creatively, these are the ones who are failing to sell tickets as there is no culture and group of people forming together around the shared love of their music. But just as some rappers are canceling tours, others are seeing record high ticket sales for how strong their fan bases are getting. As we are in 2024, I think the most important artist who is showing just how valuable community and authenticity are is Playboi Carti, which when you look at the run he has had as he has began his rollout for his upcoming album Music, everything Carti is doing proves that hip-hop is not dead one bit, it's just evolving. In a time where so many rappers are on the decline, Playboi Carti's new songs are racking up millions of views because of the raw sense of authenticity and the one-of-a-kind style he has brought to everything he is a part of, and this is making his upcoming album one of the most anticipated records we have seen in modern hip-hop. Now, while Playboi Carti is the example in real time showing how hip-hop is becoming more artist-driven than anything else, every other rapper who has found major success recently has pretty much had the same path getting there. Whether we look at superstars like Kendrick Lamar or Travis Scott, or stars who are breaking the molds they were put in like Lil Uzi Vert and Lil Yachty, or even new artists like Tizo Touchdown, or a veteran who's keeping their pulse on the future of the genre like Kanye West, it's rappers like these who are uncompromisably themselves that are bringing hip-hop into what could be its most special chapter yet. So overall, as we enter 2024, we need to understand that hip-hop's not dead, or hell, it isn't even dying. But we are merely in a transitional period, entering an era that is more driven by individual artists as opposed to trendy sounds and styles, and with the oversaturation we have seen with generic and clone rappers as of late, this is not a bad thing. With communities and fandoms bonding over artists who are undeniably original, hip-hop is headed towards an era where nobody knows what will happen next, and if this doesn't embody the spirit of what was started when rap was born 50 years ago, I don't know what does. So let me know your thoughts on this interesting time in rap music that we are living in, and if you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date on everything major happening in the world of hip-hop this year, be sure to subscribe and stick around. It helps me out a ton and it is free to do. Now, if you want to see the 5 albums that are going to push the charge for this change in hip-hop this year, check out the suggested video.